Welcome to the Six Again podcast, your new destination for all things NRL. Here to bring you everything from team news to best bets are your hosts Adam Hoy and Jarrod Newton. Let's kick off.
So the laughing you can hear in the background's Jarrod. So he's seeing me sitting here in this hunker royal blue and red stripy Knights jersey. Well, actually, no, I don't have to wear the stripes, which is fine. But
so it's one of the newer ones from about 2013-14.
Yeah, so
Adam is
Spanish.
looking very good at it, and I reckon it's gonna. You finally realise the light and fuck off Manly.
Yep. So welcome to the 6 podcast. This is episode 51. My name's Adam. The other guy's Jarrod. So we had I'm a Manly supporter, Jarrod's a Knights supporter, and we had a bet. Whichever team won, the other one would wear a jersey. Manly lost the first game. I doubled down. Manly lost the second game. So instead of wearing it for a week, I'm now wearing it for the rest of the season. And because it's disgusting, I do have something on underneath, just in case I caught something off the jersey.
You literally saw more of your snail trail than anything you're wearing underneath your jersey.
Yeah, no, I just figured that. Good old YouTube, eh? So, yeah, this will be my digs for the rest of the season. Shut up.
This is good. You only just lost, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Quoting Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. Or losing's losing in my case. So, yeah, lots going on in footy.
Not really. There's one big story, massive story. What's the second one?
What's going on with Melbourne and Smith's announcement?
That's annoying me. Did he actually announce? All right, we'll touch on it later.
Yeah. So
we starting with that.
The big stuff this week, pretty much. This could be, I still doubt it will be, but could be the end of our big content piece of the entire season, which is what's going on at the Brisbane Broncos. So the biggest story, I guess, of their last week to two is what was going to happen with regards to Anthony Seibold. Was he going to stay on as coach till the end of the season? Was he going to continue past this season? It seemed as though everyone within the Broncos didn't want him to. But it came out it came out kind of a couple of days ago, but it was announced yesterday or via the press conference, whichever way you saw it, that he has stood down and accepted a payout deal. We're still chasing figures on what that actual payout was.
It's less than what his contract was worth.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot less. And the first sort of segment of this show is we're going to be looking at a couple of things, whether he's made the right decision in our opinion, the Broncos as a club situation on this, and kind of what their next step is going forward with regards to coaching decisions and the available candidates.
I'll tell you what, one person who's loving this, Wayne Bennett would have had about 12 sneaky wines at a restaurant tonight, I reckon. Yeah, he would have been. You know that meme on Facebook where you've got Leonardo DiCaprio having a big giggle when he was in. He's doing that. He's having a great time.
I don't know. I think he'd be satisfied with whether he saw how it's going to play out, but I don't think he's going to be.
He had no idea what's happening. I think if he had no idea what's happened at the Broncos, he was there for over 30 years. But their decision, and it was against what he believed should have gone ahead at the club and how it was run. Bennett's made no secret that he hasn't liked how the Broncos have been run and their decision-making probably the last couple of years. So this is just kind of vindication for him about the whole situation, really. Like, the people he didn't like, they're put in a bad light now, essentially. So... Paul White, him and him weren't talking for a while, and
I got some stuff
rumors coming. Yeah, rumours coming around about Darren Lockey and him talking. You don't know if that shit's true, but Darren Lockey was also on the board and had something to do with this as well. So I think Wayne Bennett's having a good time down in Sydney right now, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's definitely come out better out of the two of them out of this. So
yeah,
I think the first thing I saw out of this was Seibold as a man through this whole thing. He stuck to his guns. He's done what he believed was going to be the best way of doing things. He said himself that when he quit, that he can still look in the mirror and say, I gave it my best crack. I'll admit things didn't work out how we wanted them to. And he said the thing that finally helped him make the decision was getting on the plane, leaving Sydney after staying down there with his daughter and trying to help out a serious family matter. Getting on the plane, realising that he should be down there with his kid rather than going back to work into the dumpster fire that's Broncos headquarters at the moment. I don't know. It's the first thing he said is he broke down talking to the players on in the morning presser, and then having to go through a 25-minute press conference, and then he talked to each journalist one-on-one afterwards out on the training paddock, literally meters away from where the Broncos were warming up for their game this weekend, and basically said the next thing he's going to do is head up to central Queensland onto a mate's farm with a friend from school and pretend to be a farmer for a week while he assesses what he's going to do next.
Right, where's his daughter in all that whole situation?
Sounds like, well, if he goes back down there, he'll be quarantining.
Well, yeah, so that's a bit strange.
He won't be able to get down there now. He's not.
Yeah, that's a bit strange. Oh, he might. That's a bit strange because on one hand, he's like, I shouldn't have left my daughter. But then 10 minutes later in his thing, he said he's going to go sit on the farm for a week.
Well, he can't get in New South Wales anyway.
No, he left from New South Wales.
Yeah, but he quarantined. He's not part of the NRL bubble anymore. There's no planes.
I don't know. I just think he might get a special mention. He's got a sick daughter, but that is a bit strange. That
it is. It'll be. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess that's been brushed over in all this other stuff, but
I think there's a bigger story being brushed over here, though. Not to do with Seibold.
Broncos a run.
No, we can touch on that right now if you'd like. That's just a mess. Yeah, I know you want to talk about the CEO's reactions and what they've said after it. Adam's going to go show us a big rant on that.
Well, okay. Is that now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go now. Because my story that's even potentially bigger than this one is, go.
Okay, so going back to the start, Broncos have been a hugely successful club since they came in '88. They've generally made good decisions. They've made tough decisions when they need to. They hired a coach who had 1 season of experience on a 5-year contract worth $4.8 million if you took his 6th-year coach option into it, over a very experienced coach and then 3 other more experienced applicants. The reason why
who are those applicants?
Jason Demetriou, who's going to be the coach, who's assistant to Wayne Bennett at the moment at Rabbits, Michael Maguire, who's the head coach at Tigers, and Kevvie Walters.
So Kevvie Walters, when he went in, Seibold had a better resume than Walters.
At NRL, yeah.
At NRL and assistant coach level.
Yeah, he had 1 season of coaching.
Yeah, so Kevvie Walters had 5 or 6 years under Bellamy and a few years under Bennett. Seibold had about 10 years under Bellamy. So when you think about it, Walters wasn't as his resume wasn't as impressive as Seibold's.
All right, then. So maybe we would say more fancied rather than more.
Yeah, fancied. He was definitely more wanted at Brisbane headquarters because he's Kevvie Walters. He's won like 5 premierships with
Yeah.
them. Well, 5 premierships in the NRL. But despite that, if you look at resumes only, Seibold's had a better resume than Walters.
And Walters is still crappy if you look at it. Mostly losses, unfortunately.
He hasn't done anything.
No.
Essentially, like he's got pretty good resume still because he's worked under Bellamy for a lot of years. He worked under Bennett. He's a Queensland Origin unsuccessful coach in 2 years, I think, isn't he? Lost it 2 years in a row. That's nothing against him. New South Wales had a better team. But when you look at
it
that,
saying Bellamy's a crap Origin coach, so.
Well, Queensland had a better team.
Exactly. At that level, it hardly ever comes down to coach.
So, I just want to point out that despite the fact everyone loves Walters, he's a golden child, he's come out looking pretty good, looking like he's going to get this coaching gig. When they looked at the resumes, and remember, this was 3 years ago. This is before he became Origin coach. Seibold was the current rookie coach of the year at South Sydney, and he had just as good as apprenticeship under Craig Bellamy, who Kevvie Walters had. So
it's also called recency bias, which is a crappy thing to base decisions on.
It is, but it's just done. People seem brushing over that fact. I believe that Seibold, when he went into it, was technically better than Walters.
Sure. Yeah. I don't rate Walters either way, so
that's another story.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was actually the point of me getting to it was Broncos got in a bidding war with South Sydney. South Sydney were going to offer Seibold 4 years, and Broncos like, nah, we want him. We'll offer 5. A club like the Broncos, to me, that was the first crack. Because if you don't want to sign for the Broncos for 4 years, and they're offering you the same time for somewhere else, Broncos were like, all right, we'll find someone else.
Yep, that's what they should have done.
That's what they should have done, straight off. But no, we'll fight for this guy for 5 years for some reason, because I think, and quote from the press conference, we like the system they put in place at South Sydney, and we wanted them to bring that here, basically.
Okay, I'll leave you to it, bro.
And then... What?
Oh, no, keep going. I just want to add to that, that's all.
Yeah, I'll add to it now, because I'm not going to come back.
All right, so for the Broncos' perspective, and I've always had a theory around when Wayne Bennett leaves the club that he fucks them over. So I'm not just talking about Newcastle, I'm talking about St. George and Broncos the first time he left there. So he personally guaranteed Ivan Henjak, the next coach of Broncos.
Yeah.
He didn't last a year.
Nope.
He personally guaranteed Steve Price at Dragons. Didn't last a year. He personally guaranteed Rick Stone at Newcastle. Didn't last a year. So he has a track record of leaving clubs and recommending coaches that he doesn't think. So I reckon Broncos saw that and went, we're not letting that happen again. You're not recommending a coach. We're going to move you on. We're going to find our own. They took the gamble and it failed.
You could 3 years maximum term for an initial contract. First season is a write-off, regardless if they do well, regardless if they do crap. It's not their roster. Roster's already in place, unless they get hired literally a week after the previous season finished. They've got time to look at pre-season, all that sort of stuff. Second year, you can see what they're building. Third year is the real time. And if they do well over that, then you start talking extensions. You don't just come out and offer a 5-year deal for an experienced or an unproven coach. It's dumb decision-making. It's dumb money. And you'll see the only players who get deals like that are your Tamalolos, your Cherry Evans.
Your franchise.
There's been a mistake made on Hunt, but it's generally your franchise players who have proven their worth over a 3-4 year period beforehand. That was the second mistake.
And adding to that is that you never see Bellamy or Robinson sign a 5-year contract.
Nope. Never.
There you go.
You have no idea what's going to happen to a club, regardless of how well set up it is. Broncos right now is a perfect example. Melbourne salary cap, perfect example. He comes in. He's got a cracking good roster. But at the same time, he's still an inexperienced coach at this level and wants to make his stamp on the club. Now, when I say your first year is about setting up your roster, Did he make some bad decisions with players he let go? Yes, he did. However, that's not just on the coach. Coach can't just go, you're fired to a player. It's signed off by head of football operations. It's signed off by CEO. Coach can't just kick a player out the door because they don't want him in the team. They can advise they don't want them there, but they can't just flick him out the door. So that goes through multiple steps. So every one of these players that people are saying Seibold got rid of had to be signed off by a whole group of people before that happened.
Yeah, and
if that's the case, if Seibold's saying I don't want these players, he's got a list of players he wants to bring in. Croft was one that was very well publicised. I'm trying to think of the rest.
He didn't sign many more.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So if the club was so willing to kick these players out the door, where was the succession plan in place to replace those players? Were they just clearing cap space to offer it to Fafita and Pangai? If so, Again, dumb business decision. Two talented young players with 30 and 40 games under their belts?
Yeah.
Seriously? You're banking your entire club's future on that? That's a business decision.
Yeah, which those two players, they are potentially franchise players with their talent. They just have a wrong attitude, which I do blame Seibold for because he has to instill that attitude in those players.
Yes, that's on him. How much of that carry over from the year before? I
don't know, but he's brought in a lot of young players in that in this team.
Yeah,
and the attitude is definitely not there. That's proof.
No, not in all of them, but you can see improvements in some of the young players. Like Regan has come on in leaps and bounds through the year. Flip started pretty, I'm not going to say poorly, inconsistently, and he's proved to be quite a strong young player.
Hang on for Feeder.
You would say,
they were the players that the gems. They were building their forward pack around. They were the reason all this money was getting shot out the door.
Exactly.
And half.
But then when Seibold's fronting up to the media week in, week out, Broncos are losing, of course they are. Senior players also didn't stand up. Regardless of what coach it is, they've been in the league long enough to be changing the attitude of themselves and the other players. They had a role to play. But in the end, it comes down to decisions made above the coach with the direction that the club goes in. A lot of money got thrown down the drain. No one's taken ownership of it. It got to a point where a dude, he sits at a computer and buys shares of a club. Because he's got enough shares, he can come out and say, Anthony Seibold is a cancer that needs to be cut out so the Broncos don't die, and I don't want to see the Broncos die. Of course he doesn't. He's going to lose money if the Broncos die. For him to say Seibold is a cancer, cancers embed themselves in a host and eat it from within. A coach doesn't do that.
That's a horrible...
What?
No, I shouldn't be laughing at how cancer is.
I'm using the quote from there.
Yeah, Carl Morris. No, it wasn't Carl Morris. Someone Murphy, I think.
Some fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. If you're going to use that analogy, Seibold is the freaking freckle on the skin. The melanoma, the cancer down below, is everyone that holds that club up. That's your Paul White. That's your head of football operations. Unfortunately, Broncos diehards, that's Darren Lockyer. And those other guys who sit on that board that have sat back in the shadows and overlooked a coaching freaking conveyor belt that's had Ivan Henjak, Anthony Griffin, Wayne Bennett in his second stint, and now Seibold have all come in, been churned up, been spat out. The Broncos have stayed mediocre through this entire thing and have dropped now. And yet the board, especially the CEO, has stayed the same through all of this. And then they come up with a freaking idea to lowball a coach who has 3 years still left on a deal that they signed up and it was their idea and it was their figures, and saying, we fucked up, you look worse than we do, here's $1 million. I know it's $1.8, $2 million short of what you actually deserve, But this is playing on your mental health. You better get out now and we'll give you $1 million to do it.
Yeah.
That is the most dog cow decision from an elite club they could have done. If they're going to buy him out, at least make it half the deal. I feel for Seibold because the impact this has had on him and his family, due to things he couldn't control, which to me has had a much bigger impact than the coaching decisions he's made. Then to go, here's $1 million, when if he just rocked up and did a standard job till the end of the season, they probably would have sacked him anyway and had to pay him out his full figure. That just reeks of, just absolute shit.
Yeah.
And to finish, this is what shitted me the most. When Paul White was asked about his responsibility for the Broncos' failure to secure a 7th premiership in his time, or even, they progressed at times. I'm the CEO, but I don't make that decision on my own. It would be disrespectful to suggest that I make those decisions on my own. Being accountable is about acknowledging that every decision you make has an element of risk and an element of reward, and it's about trying to balance the two. That's correct. You're the freaking CEO. Every decision made in your club by football operations, by the coach, by the physio wanting to buy new equipment, I don't freaking care. Every decision is ticked off by you. Every reward comes back to you. Every failure comes back to you. Take fucking responsibility. Oh, damn it.
Yeah,
if you've got a private owned club, owners go, you're the GM, you run everything. Yeah. You fuck up, we're firing you.
Yeah. So, you done?
I feel sorry for Broncos supporters now. I'm hoping you can clean the slate and keep going forward. We both take pleasure in seeing the Broncos fail like this, but we don't take pleasure in seeing what it's been doing to people who've been caught in the firing line of this.
So it all comes back to the whole
shit.
And I've said it about 4,000 times. The Jack Gibson quote, where your front of house isn't sorted, your field on the field isn't going to be able to done. It's proven 100% what's happening here. But in saying that too, despite, and I agree with Adam, despite the fact that the board has done a terrible job for the last 10 years and they should be held more accountable. The roster that the Broncos had, they definitely should have played better on the field than they have.
Yeah.
And I'm putting this not only on Seibold, but the senior players within that squad. So, unfortunately for the last year, the past players of Broncos have come out and said, if you did something wrong, players like Webke, Sivanasiva, Tallis, all guys, if you cut a corner, they would pull you aside and essentially drop you on your head for cutting one corner. That was the standard at the Broncos. And Darius Boyd actually come out and said the same thing. Well, Darius, this is your time to be doing that shit.
Exactly.
And the senior players, and look, they got, I reckon one of the biggest things they did was get rid of McCulloch, because he would have been that sort of player. He wasn't 100% flash player in the field. I'll give him that. He never ran the ball. But you could tell the difference he made when he came to Newcastle. You can honestly tell it. There was one moment that stands out. He only played 3-4 games for him, unfortunately. There's one moment that stood out was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Manly in the game where they put a grubber through. There was no one else there. He chased 60 metres to dive on the ball and the in-goal and stop it. Definite try. You'd have to look it up. I can't remember what. But that's the sort of things that Broncos are lacking this year. That desperate defence, that 1% thing. That's the biggest thing. So the senior players within the group, because they've got such a young team, but they still had, when they walked onto the field this year, they still had at least 600-700 games of experience amongst them.
They weren't the youngest team.
free players like Maguire, McCulloch, and Boyd, right there. That's about 700 games between them.
Penrith are younger and more inexperienced.
That's right. So that's because if you look at it from a pure performance perspective, he had to be fired. But as Adam said, there has to be a lot more looked into the club than what's going on. If you understand that, they have to look in the field. So their performance since he's been there, he made it semi-finals last year. He scraped into 8, got beaten 58-0 in the first week, and reports coming out that the Broncos spent 2:00 in the morning on the pokies on the piss the night before. So when you were coaching us, that used to be a standard thing. At C grade, that used to be standard. Well, we did go out drinking.
Going to the pokies.
On at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, yeah. But we still went, shit, we got to stop this. We got to play football tomorrow. These guys are paid, close to $800,000 and they're doing it. So something's wrong there for that to happen. And the whole of Broncos needs to be blown up right now and restarted, essentially, because
it's called the Brisbane Bombers.
Because at the start of the year, I had such high hopes for them because of the team they had. They had when they walked out at the start of this year, they had a really good team. They were 2 wins from nothing, 2 for 2. And that's because of the team they had. They beat Rabbits. They smacked Rabbits. And I can't remember the second yet. So, yeah, everywhere the Broncos need to be blown up now. Everywhere. Because they can't just go on one person.
How they were playing, he deserves to be fired?
Yeah.
So, Neil Henry came out, and he's the head of the Coaches Association at the moment. So, he's coached over 3 different NRL clubs. At the moment, it's 1 in 4 coaches are fired throughout the season. So
5 coaches this year have been hooked.
Yeah. So 16 teams, there's going to be 4 coaches each year that are fired. Underneath that, you've got all the assistants that get fired along with that, usually, because the new head coach wants to bring his own team. But it comes to results. Yeah. So this is a quote from Neil Henry. It says, "Coaches can overcome difficult seasons. Brad Arthur is a classic example. Parramatta stuck with him and he's come out the other side. Remembering Parramatta got the wooden spoon with Brad Arthur. They had faith in him and they were able to back that up with some leadership and some introspection to change a few things up. Clubs can do that, or they can just continue with the coach as a scapegoat and another one comes in and another one comes in and then he's gone. And if nothing changes, you're probably going to get the same result. That's been the Broncos for the last 10 years. Coach comes in, team doesn't play well, get rid of the coach. Coach comes in, team doesn't play well, get rid of the coach. Coach comes in, team doesn't play well, get rid of the coach. Coach comes in, get to a grand final, lose, team doesn't play well, get rid of the coach. Maybe it's the club that's the issue. Maybe it's not the coach.
So when you isolate...
coach of the last 10 years to get shitty performances out of a team that has the best facilities, the best backing, finance, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, his record was freaking horrible. But has anyone watched Manly over the last 6 weeks? We've sucked.
Yeah, okay. So there's a difference there. There's a difference there. So let's look at the coaches who've been fired this year. Steve Kearney, that came out of the blue, and I think that had more to do with Isaac Moses than anything, but they were playing well for the conditions they had to play in this year. And that came out of... So I don't think he actually deserved to get fired. Dean Pay definitely didn't get deserved to get fired.
Yeah, that was just...
Paul Green...
But that was on results.
Paul Green... I don't think he did... I just think that that was a mutual agreement as far as I think he believed that he'd done everything he could have done with the Cowboys.
But he's also been there for 7 years.
Yeah, okay. And who was the fourth? Because it was 5. So it's Steve Kearney, Paul Green, Dean Pay. Who? McGregor. McGregor and Seibold, I believe, are in the same boat. Sorry?
McGregor had been there for 5 years.
Yeah, so I believe McGregor and Seibold were in the same boat. That all the rest of the other three coaches probably had an argument to justify why they should keep their job. Wait, can you agree with that? Kearney, Pay, Green? McGregor and Seibold.
Green, no.
You don't reckon he could have?
No.
You reckon his position was untenable? You reckon that Cowboy supporters would have been rioting in the streets? That's the exaggeration, by the way. That he was still coaching.
Exaggeration.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
No, I don't think they'd be rioting, but I also don't think that they could expect to get back to where they were with him still as the coach.
Yes, but I still don't believe that the way it happened. I know it sounds really good how it happened. It was a mutual discussion and this, that, and the other. But any mid-season, we'll call it relinquished by a coach, isn't exactly planned, is it? So a mid-season thing is a bit rough.
I don't think he would have had that planned at the start of the season. But
exactly.
He's been in the coaching gig long enough to see the writing on the wall and say,
yeah, that's right. And I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying that he probably could have had an argument to say that he should stay on for at least the end of the season.
Oh yeah.
No one would have said no to that. Let's put it that way. Now Josh Hanhay's kind of screwed over because of their performances, but that's another story. But Seibold and McGregor were different just because of the fact that I don't think they had an argument to stay on.
I think Seibold does. I don't think McGregor did.
No, I don't think so. I think Seibold's a victim of the Broncos' direction. But in saying that too, he was a willing participant of that. Because he justified all his selections and stuff like that. Because he was the one making selections. He justified all his selections with, we've said it before on this podcast, crap excuses.
Yeah.
He justified all that. He contributed in the Broncos' downfall more than I say that Dean Pay contributed to the Bulldogs' effort.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I believe
get you on that one.
Not only should Seibold...
Oh, actually, no, not hell yeah, because Dean Pay made some weird decisions through the year too.
Yeah, he did, but they always came out with a good attitude. You can't say that about the Broncos. Seibold contributed... Seibold should have been fired along with a host of other people within the Broncos organisation. So what I'm saying is, yes, he should have lost his job, but I agree with you 100%. The board, there should be an independent review of their board, and they should be under the same restrictions they put Seibold under.
The only thing, agree with that. I definitely agree with you. Mine comes back to the 3-year thing. So first year.
That's 100% correct.
So at the end, he got another 5. Regardless if he got sacked, if he left now or 5 games later, they're not gonna make the finals. Whoever comes in as their coach for the last 5 games isn't going to be their coach next year. Go to the end of the season, let him have a full off season, get the team how he wants it to, and then you go into your 3rd year, and that's your judgment year. That's what I think that was in his. Like if without the extenuating circumstances, even if he had a shitty record this year, if everything else was per normal. They were just playing poorly. I'd still have a 3rd year to really get it.
I think there's a difference between playing poorly and having a bad attitude.
Manly's had a bad attitude the last.
No, you haven't. No,
you watch us last week?
No. Oh, okay, last week maybe.
Did you watch us against Penrith?
I watched you against Newcastle, and you didn't.
Yeah, but that's Manly.
No, but that's my point.
It's a rival.
So every week, so let's say Manly 3 out of 5 weeks they'll have a crack. Those other 2, not so much. Broncos are 4 out of 5, not having a crack. And when they do have a crack, they only last 50 minutes. So that I think is, and it's not like a 5-week period. This is round 17, and then
but Broncos don't also have a George Tafua or a Jake Trbojevic or a Martin Tapau or
they just got Payne Haas.
No, I'm talking about experienced players, like older experienced players who don't have an excuse of inconsistency.
It's not inconsistent. Broncos have been very consistent. Consistently
shit.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I know, but not young guys.
Their attitude isn't changing week by week.
If their elder players aren't going to hold them accountable, they're not going to hold themselves because they're waiting for someone else to do it.
And who holds the older players accountable?
Those players who aren't doing it.
Who holds the older players accountable? Whose job's that?
Each other, and then the coach.
And the coach.
He should have sacked some of them earlier.
No, well, hey, I don't think that the sacking is the right thing to do because he tried to sack a few players. He just sacked the wrong ones. But it's true. He did sack a few of them, McCulloch, Maguire, and then he brought back Ben Teo, who's just gonna seriously, why?
Yeah, that's a board. That had nothing to do with the coach.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, I just don't believe that it should be all on Seibold's shoulders, but it still should be on his shoulders.
Yeah, definitely should be. He needs a review on him, but forcing him to walk away by only paying him a third of what he deserved is shit.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I reckon he was treated badly.
He's another scapegoat after Henjack, Griffin,
and Brad Fittler came out. And Brad Fittler came out and said he won't get an NRL coaching job for another 10 years.
Oh, that's an exaggeration because.
Well, you know what I mean. He probably won't. He'll struggle to get it. He have to go to England first and have to.
I don't know.
There. But
I think there's some pretty mediocre coaches in the league still.
Well, he hasn't proven he's not mediocre.
No. There are some still proving they are. So there's positions there. Going forward.
So
I was going to say, going forward, I talked to a mate today. He's a Broncos supporter because I want to get his opinion on it. He believes Seibold had to go because he'd lost the respect of the playing group, and you could see that with regards to the attitude. He said once it's got to that stage, you've got to look at your coach and moving on. I said, who would be your coach going forward? And every other question I'd asked of him, this is James, by the way, every other question I'd asked, there'd be to pause and he'd think about an answer. And I said, who's the coach going forward? He said, Kevvie, straight away, no hesitation. So I gave him the two options, Paul Green, Kevvie Walters. He said Kevin straight away. Now, I posed to him then, what about... So Kevvie Walters got permission earlier this year from the Maroons to seek out a coaching position, and that he'd be able to do both. I think if you're the North Queensland coach, you could probably still be the Origin coach. I don't think the Broncos...
Where the Broncos are at now.
I don't think Broncos even normally, you could also be the Maroons coach because there's so much pressure on that position regardless of how they're playing. Whereas even now, whoever comes in, Broncos are going to suck next year, most likely. And it's going to take 2-3 years to get out of where they're at. Salary cap-wise, they're screwed as well. So if he goes to the Broncos, if that's who they get, he's going to have to vacate the Maroons position. So I was thinking, does it make sense for Kevvie Walters to be a head coach and Paul Green to be assistant at Broncos? Because even an assistant coach at the Broncos, personally, to me, would be as big a job, maybe not credential-wise, but work-wise, as a head coach in some other clubs. Or does Paul Green put his hand up then for the Maroons gig?
Okay. Wish James was here, but I want to ask why Kevin?
The base around his decision was the biggest problem with the playing group is attitude and effort. If Kevvie Walters walks in, instant, not aura, I guess aura, but respect straight away as a legend, not only of the club, but of the NRL, a 6-time premiership winner, knows that club inside and out, but is up to date with the nuances and the new ways of coaching, because he's in and around coaching all the time. a lot of the players there at the age where they would have idolised him, not growing up per se, but as a legendary figure of the game, and will be hanging off his every word. And it provides a new link between what's been missing at the Broncos, which is a relationship with the legends of that club, and what's there currently. So the base of his argument was the respect and the persona and standards that he would bring back to the club that have been missing. Kind of what Brad Thorne's done for Queensland Reds, I'd say. It's taken him 3 years, but this year, if you watch the Queensland Reds play, they've been awesome. And they've lost, in the off-season, they lost the equivalent of an Israel Folau and a Boyd Cordner and a, who's a flashy young winger, we'll say.
Fido?
Yeah, Fido. So they've lost those sort of 3 caliber players all in one off-season. They've actually gotten better. This is his 3rd year. They've sucked the first one. They've sucked the last 2 years, but they've been in a lot of games. I think Kevvie, I guess he sees Kevvie Walters doing the same sort of thing.
Oh, I'm super curious about Kevvie Walters. Not because...
Don't let it cliche say that.
I know she knows. You should hear what I say about Mitchell Johnson.
We all say that about Mitchell Johnson.
Yeah, he's a specimen. So why do people keep saying no to him?
I don't know,
it's super weird. I'm really curious. I brought this up vaguely a couple of weeks ago. So Broncos said no to him. That's been highly publicised.
Yeah.
Cowboys said no to him already.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors said no to him. I think the Dragons said no to him. It's super weird because everyone, like as James said, everyone had no hesitation to put him forward for this Broncos job. But a lot of clubs have said no to him. Whereas you look at coaches who's had the same kind of apprenticeship and not as storied careers like Craig Fitzgibbon. Pretty much from what's coming out recently, any of the 5 clubs that have lost coaches this year have all reached out to Craig Fitzgibbon and said, you don't even have to interview. You just have to walk in.
Yeah.
Adam O'Brien, I'm not pumping up Newcastle right now, but he didn't get an interview at Newcastle. And he came out and said, I never wanted to go before I was ready. I wanted to go to the right club.
Yeah.
So he picked where he went. It's looking like Jason Riles is going to get the same thing because he's going over to England to coach Union, but he's going to come back. He's the next one after Fitzgibbon, I suppose. So Kevvie Walters had, as he said, 6 premierships wins as a player. He would have won a few premierships as assistant coach of Melbourne. I think he helped out at Broncos in the early 2000s as well when he retired. I don't know why, but it's just so many people have said no to him. Why is that? I'm really curious at why that's the case because
in hockey it's an old boys club.
Sorry?
In hockey it's an old boys club where they just it's just a carousel of coaches. You go from one club to the next, and then that coach goes to the next one, and that one goes to the next one. The NRL is almost like that, where someone loses a job and the first names to be thrown up
is Wayne Bennett.
Either a coach who's been fired or someone who's been around the game. Like, if you're outside the game, it's pretty hard to get a look in. Like you're...
I thought that too, but then you've got Michael Maguire. You never really... Then you've got Adam O'Brien, Brad Arthur, Craig Bellamy.
They were all in and around coaching already, like in the assistant roles. So I'm saying there's not many that are coming from... We're not looking at in-trust coaches. We're not looking at Super League coaches. Holbrook's are different, but he coached here before he went over there.
It just like I don't know
Which coach do you think, like if you're going to pick, say you're Broncos CEO, if you look at the NRL coaches, and we'll take the ones off the board that pretty much would be a no-go. So no Robinson, no Bellamy, no Bennett. All right? Out of all the rest, because they're pretty much the three that have achieved everything they can, basically. They would just be looking at this job maybe as a challenge, but also as a headache. Whereas pretty much every other coach would see this as an opportunity to really lay their name down as a
I'm
Who do you reckon you would go with?
Well, firstly, I'm not questioning Kevvie Walters. He might be a great coach. I was asking that question. That's all. Why is people saying no? For Broncos right now, I don't think they can have a rookie.
No.
I think, and I said this about Newcastle already, I think they need to bring into someone who's experienced, but as Adam said, isn't amongst the old boys club. Sean Wayne.
Yes.
So he's looking like he's getting the Cowboys job. That's the rumours going around. But I would seriously be bringing him because he's not in that old boys club, but he's also not a rookie.
Coach the big club in England.
Honestly, I don't like Sean Wayne. He's a bit of a wank. He complains about the fact that everyone thinks NRL is better than Super League week. It's so much better than Super League. Fuck off. But Adam's like, what? It is. But so he's not in that. Yeah, he's not in that old boys club. He'll come in and he'll have a fuck you attitude to everybody.
He won't give a shit about the board.
He won't be pot-shotting Wayne Bennett across media. No. He won't give a shit about literally anything. He'll just focus on that team and he'll try and prove everyone wrong. And any players he doesn't like for that reason, he'll get rid of them. But he'll get rid of the right players who are creating the wrong attitude amongst the club. So I think he'd be more of a go than, unfortunately, Kevvie Walters. But too, I wanted him at Newcastle originally, but I'm pretty happy with Adam O'Brien right now, obviously. But I think they will go Kevvie Walters. I have to ask that question. Why do 3 or 4 clubs already said no to him?
Yeah, I don't know.
This year.
It sounds like something that'll come out in autobiography or something.
Well, no, it's really unfortunate because, okay, so if he does well, he'll be the saviour to Broncos and he'll be coach. They'll give him a 10-year contract. But if he does bad,
Dunian coach of the year, then another club will offer him 5 years.
Yeah, so if he does bad, I think he won't come back from that. Like, for the first time coaching a head coaching club, the first time as a head coach, will be his last time if he doesn't do well. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I don't think he'll get picked up at any other club if he does bad at the Broncos.
This is going to be a bad take for most people, but I kind of want him to get it just so he's not the Maroons coach anymore.
Look.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm questioning that as well because it's come out today that if he does get this Broncos job, he has to relinquish it because he's got so much work to do at the Broncos. He can't spend 6 weeks doing Origin while he's got a full preseason at the mess that is Broncos.
Yeah.
So it is going to be questioned who the coach is. There's already rumours going around that they've already talked to Wayne Bennett. But Wayne Bennett said today, and you can take this with a grain of salt, that's the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, so he probably started it himself.
Yeah, probably. So, look, it's so... And then you got to ask, who would you want as Queensland coach? And who do you believe? And because Adam's got to admit, and everyone's got to admit, New South Wales, and I'm not even trying to be a dick here, are well on top here as far as the form of the players currently.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah. So who do you think as a Queensland coach can change something up well enough to get Maroons over the line?
Does it have to be a Queenslander?
Well, that's generally tradition, unless you want to go... Yeah, well, why not? Go outside the box. Who else is there?
Ricky Stewart.
He would never do it.
I know he wouldn't do it, but that's the sort of person you need to do it. I was going to say Ricky Stewart, coach of the Broncos, would be
badass.
It would
absolutely badass.
He's got the link. He understands the importance of old boys. Canberra does it better than almost any other club. You see the guys they bring in to blow the horn, the guys that are at training. He has great rapport with the young guys in the team. They play for him. Look what happens when Josh Canberra's lost. Their injury toll this year has been horrible, and they're still where they are. He's the sort of coach that I'd be looking to bring in. Sean Wayne's in that similar mold. Anyway, we've got to move on. We've got other stuff to talk about, but
yeah. So
these next
I did want to talk about Broncos again for a little bit longer.
Next week. We've been going for almost an hour.
Okay, so the Pangai story.
What story?
$100,000 has gone missing. He's gone to the NRL integrity unit saying he was due $100,000 for third-party payments. Broncos have fired back and said, look, this is a sponsorship payment that got ruined during COVID. Every single year, free players get an extra $100,000 on third-party arrangements due to sponsorship. But due to COVID, these sponsorships aren't there. So Pangai's blown up and blown the whistle on the Broncos about potential salary cap rorting. So more things to talk about next week, but we will keep moving on.
I do love the fact that he turned down an $800,000 deal for a Sydney club and signed for Broncos for $650,000. Now there's $150,000 missing.
Yeah.
Ooh. Conspiracy. Anyway, there's been a lot of pressure on Cameron Smith lately to make a decision whether he's playing on next year. And now it's all this talk about the release clause of Harry Grant and Brendan Smith saying he'll play elsewhere if Cam Smith plays on. In all honesty, I'm going to call bullshit on both those accounts. There's no young player who's going to say no to playing with Cameron Smith, regardless if it's going to limit your time. Harry Grant's what, 21?
21.
He's got at least a decade. Brandon Smith's not much older. I like, is it Matt Tripp, the CEO of Melbourne, someone who knows how to run a club? He's pretty much come out and said the fact that people are talking that we'll get rid of Grant or Smith just to keep the other two is fanciful. I'm going to do everything I can. Sometimes you've got to think outside the box, but I'll find a way, some way, to get all three of them contributing to our team if that's what they want to do. That's how he should be thinking, not trying to think, if this happens, we'll have to look here, or if this happens. His first thing is, we can get all three to play if they all want to be here. And that's how he should be thinking.
This whole story... Sorry.
Fuck those people telling Cameron Smith to hurry up.
Yes!
Seriously.
Thank you. You've got...
He can take as long as he freaking wants.
Yeah.
Melbourne Storm aren't where Melbourne Storm are without Cameron Smith.
Mm-hmm.
If you had Cronk, Slater, Inglis there for this entire time and Smith wasn't, they would still be a very successful club. But I doubt they would have been as successful, even with those three there and Smith not.
Yeah, that's
because
exactly right.
He controls. I was thinking about this today, actually, with him being thrown into the spotlight and seeing him play at 37. And since Jonathan Thurston retired, all the talk's been around the best player of all time, Smith and Johns and Thurston. And I really thought about it today and went, they're asking the wrong question. That's who's the best halfback of all time. To me, I think Smith, when I really looked at it, it's gone past both of them.
Yeah, so it's out of those three. I'm obviously in Newcastle.
Yeah. So those of you watching, I'm wearing a Newcastle jersey.
But So I believe that you're right. Even Johns calls him the best player he's ever seen.
Yeah.
That includes Thurston because Johns has seen Thurston play.
Yeah.
So it's a hotly debated topic, but go whichever way you want. There's no.
That's not what we're debating right now. It's just the fact that people are trying to freaking tell me.
Adam's 100% right. He will decide when he leaves. He will decide if he goes to another club. I love the fact that they're blowing up about the fact that he might go to another club, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember how that came about, especially the Gold Coast? A dumbass reporter asked Justin Holbrook, if Smith became available, would you sign him? What is Justin Holbrook going to say? Go, nah, I wouldn't sign him.
I think he did say no.
No, he said, yeah, I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, but I don't think, because that's the next story, the fact that Holbrook signed on till the end of 2024, which is awesome for the Titans.
Yeah, no, that is. But look, Adam's 100% right. People who haven't played the game, who report on the game, let him decide what he wants to do because he knows better than everyone. He knows better than Bellamy what's better than that Melbourne team. And if that is him playing on, everyone should be bowing down when he runs out in the fucking field because he's that good. So just calm down, everybody.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I got a quote here from Holbrook. I've never spoken to Cameron, and I said all along, in all honesty, I couldn't see him leaving Melbourne.
Yeah,
and he said we've got people committed to the club.
If Smith rang him up and goes, I want to go to Gold Coast, Holbrook's going to sign him. But yeah, and then
he's also said you'd love to have a player like Cameron Smith come to your club. He's the best player in the game. But that's nothing that's close to. That's nothing to look at or lock in because it's not something that's been looked at.
So you can, and that's how those quotes they showed some positivity in it as that's how all this stuff started.
Yeah,
and it's just snowballed. Okay, so the next big signing, and
I wouldn't want him to play for another club.
No. So another signing today, and before I say this, I love this bloke. I really rated him throughout his whole career, even when he didn't play for us. I never had a bad word to say against him. But Bulldogs, what are you thinking? So Bulldogs have signed Blake Green for 2021 for a 1-year deal.
Before he got his ACL injury. 3 weeks
before
he got his ACL injury.
So he signed it 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Oh, those poor bastards. Those poor bastards.
I still don't agree with it anyway.
Oh, look, the problem, the biggest thing I don't agree with that is Kieran Foran and Blake Green, exact same player. So unless they get him rid of Foran, and
Foran's already said no because they offered him a contract and he said it wasn't.
So
they offered him a 1-year deal and he wants more than that.
Yeah, so there's rumours going around that Newcastle can sign him because he's best mates with Mitch Pearce. I don't see how they can fit someone like Kieran Foran under their salary cap when they're signing Frizzell. They've already got Clemmer and Ponga and Pearce. So I
think Foran would adjust his salary expectations playing in a squad like Newcastle compared to a squad like Canterbury.
Yeah, so it'd be really interesting on that fact because if he does sign with Newcastle, do you think that's a top 4 team if he stays fit?
No.
You don't think it is still? Fair enough.
Only based on two positions.
What?
Your centers and your wing.
Okay, so we got best.
Yeah.
And wingers.
But again, that's recency bias. He's looked real damn good, but even in 6 games, that's enough video for clubs to start developing.
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, that's fair. Okay, I'll give you that. We've got young players. We've got that young Pommy dude coming over next year as well.
You just need some strike out wide. Edric Lee's good when he's in space or when he's in the air. But
no, he's no good in space. He's too slow.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Despite all that, that's another conversation for another time. Yeah, but I just like this poor. If they signed him 3 weeks before, that's fair enough. But they would have seen that when he played against whatever club whoever played in the weekend, and just started crying. Honestly,
yeah. I don't agree with the signing. Regardless, like you've got a new coach coming in, you've got a shitload of money in your salary cap. And you sign a 33-year-old playmaker to a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, if you're in a position to splash cash, get decent players, you've been rebuilding, in quotations, for freaking, 4 years, 5 years? You've sucked since the grand final against the Rabbitohs. You don't start, or you don't continue a rebuild by signing a veteran for 1 year.
Yeah. So I want to know who takes up his medical bills and when that starts.
If I was Canterbury, I'd be throwing money at James Maloney and say, dude, come back. You can run this whole team for the next 3 years.
He's the same age.
Is he really?
Yeah, James Maloney, he'd be 33, 34.
Yeah, I'll scratch that idea then. I thought he was a little younger. But I'd be looking at a playmaker I can spend 3 years with, not a season at a time. Yeah, I also say
so yeah, he is currently 34.
Maloney.
Yeah.
Oh, he just plays. He looks younger when he plays. He actually runs.
He does not look younger at all.
Never. Maybe it's just more exciting then.
Yeah.
Foreign getting offered. Jesus. Foreign getting offered $400,000 at Canterbury, and Foreign getting offered $400,000 at Knights. The Knights $400,000 looks more like $650 because you're in the chance of finals and playing at the top end of the table. If I'm going to get paid $400,000 at a bottom club and $400,000 at a mid to top club, I'd take the $400,000 at the mid to top club because at least I'm going to feel better about my money because I'm actually getting.
Yeah, it's just that's like if Blake Green wasn't injured, I personally love the signing for Bulldogs. I reckon an old head does well for a year just to get, and he might be just there to make sure they teach Jack Cogger and then go as a halves coach for however long. Now he's torn his ACL. I think he's essentially useless to him, other than a halves coach. I don't think, and this is all rumours about Kieran Foran. I don't think Kieran Foran coming to Newcastle is that great for us anyway, to be honest. Because for Foran to come in, you've got to either get rid of Kurt Mann, Connor Watson, or Brayley. And the way Kurt Mann's playing right now, and we all know I don't like this, but he's the one who's going to get kept over Connor Watson. I prefer Connor Watson. But yeah, so that when you think about that, if we bring in a 5'8" right now, like Kieran Foran, and when you think about Jaden Brayley's going to get number 9 jersey next year, so you got to choose between Watson and Mann because they're both NRL standard players, but you can't fit both of them in the team. So, unless. Oh, no, they can't. Don't worry. I was going to say they might be able to put one at lock, but one could come off at the bench. They could have a utility and Connor Watson on the bench, and Connor Watson could be a forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if they bring in Kieran Foran, there goes Connor Watson. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
another good it looks as though this will be a signing that'll be confirmed in the next week or so, maybe a couple of weeks. Tom Starling down in Canberra looks as though he's going to be offered a new deal pretty soon.
Good on him.
And yeah, he's had limited opportunities, but he's definitely making the most of it, especially in light of Josh Hodgson's knee injury. So I'm guessing they'd be planning for Tom Starling to be the ear in the hooker position down in Canberra. Sylvia Havili's not going to be the answer to them going forward. So hopefully that works out best for both player and club. Let's go over some quick injuries before we get into the team list, the updated team list. So most of these we've mentioned already, but Dale Copley's out for the season with a pectoral injury. And he has to get surgery on. Nathan Peets is out this week due to a calf strain. Jai Arrow is on track for a return in around 18 or 19, so a couple of weeks. Jonas Pearson is available for selection after passing fitness tests on his pec rupture. Alex Johnson's going to miss Thursday's game against the Eels with HIA protocol. He'll be replaced by Corey Allen, and Dane Gagai will be sidelined again with a hamstring injury. Osai Coruscant's been ruled out for 1 to 2 weeks with a grade 1 calf strain. So another big one there. Panthers will also be without Viliami Kikau, but Brian To'o has been named to return. Roosters welcome back Daniel Tupou and Boyd Cordner from ankle and concussion symptoms. Anthony Milford will be out with another hamstring strain. Cowboys have lost Tubau Fidau to a minor hamstring, but welcome back Valentine Holmes, Murray Talagi, and Dejan Arce. And Blake Green, we've already mentioned, is out with a torn ACL. And also not on here, but have to mention Jason Tamalolo is out for 3 to 4 weeks with a calf strain. That could be the end of his season with only 4 rounds to go, or 5 rounds to go, sorry. So, Cowboys were already travelling pretty poorly. This does not help their case. So, yeah, well, they got calf round 20 if he comes back. So, there's no real point for them to play him. Same sort of thing that I'm hoping Manly says with regards to Tom Trbojevic. Anyway, here we go. It's taking us a bit longer, but to get onto our team list, but there has been some big stuff.
So first game was Parramatta versus South Sydney. Parramatta are essentially unchanged.
For the third, fourth week in a row?
Yeah, so 1-17 from last week with Utukamanu and Hayes Dunster at the 18 and 19. You doubt any of them are going to come in. For South Sydney, you've got, same deal. I think that's pretty well the same team. Stephen Masters comes in the centres.
Corey Allen's in on the wing.
Yeah, so Stephen Masters in the centres in number 19. Corey Allen comes in the wing for Alex Johnson, who got a head knock from last week. And, so...
So Masters is in with Guy out.
Yeah. So that's pretty much that team. I am picking Parramatta on that. This disgusts me, but it is what it is.
See, this
Adam?
I'm a bit disappointed that Johnson and Gagai aren't playing, because I know Manly got belted last week, but that first half of South was 4 times better than what Parramatta's been playing. But it was also against a team that really did not put up a lot of resistance. And even again last week, like Parramatta won, 14-0 over a very depleted Storm.
Yeah, this could be an interesting game for South Sydney, because they could come out firing about the fact that they could they have the team to actually knock Para off. We've been questioning Para's kind of fading out in the last couple of weeks,
but they keep winning. That's what.
That's the thing. That's what proves them a good. I believe they're not fading out. I think they're rising. But this will be an interesting game, because you don't know what South Sydney team's going to rock up, because, Adam just said their first half last week was close to perfect, despite, Manly. But then, a couple of weeks ago, at half-time during the Newcastle-South Sydney game, Newcastle are up 28-0. South Sydney came back in the second half. So, look, South Sydney have the ability to match with the top teams, and despite how you look at it, Parramatta are either on the up or on the down. So this could be a very interesting game for that reason. So who are you picking?
I'm going to go Parramatta still. The only difference, Andrew Davies in for Marata Niokore for Parramatta, who's suspended. But, I'm going to go Para till, I guess, they lose. First game. We're both freaking yawning now, stop it. First game on Friday night, it's a 6 o'clock game. Dragons versus Titans. And I said the Titans versus Canberra game last week could have been entertaining. It could have been a bit more, so I see the same thing here. Maybe it's just anything that Titans are in, because I just love what forgotten his name. Justin Holbrook's doing with the Titans. It's not paying off every week with results, but their playing style is different. The effort's up, the speed's up, and they're just good to watch, even if they're not getting across the line. But anyway, Dragons are at home, so Dufty at fullback, Pereira, Ravalawa on the wings, Aitken and Lomax in the centres. No change there. Corey Norman, Adam Clune, the halves. Forwards, Kerr and Laurie start up front. So Paul Vaughan again out, suspended. Brazil, Host, McInnes, your back row on lock. Ben Hunt at hooker. Kate Ellis, Trent Merrin, Jackson Ford, and Billy Britton comes into the interchange. Jaden Sullivan. Ooh, it's a name we haven't seen. In the reserves, great young playmaker. There, a couple of changes for the Titans here. So Corey Thompson's been named on the wing in place of Anthony Don. Ash Taylor comes back in at 5'8", after Tanner Boyd looked quite impressive there last week. And Tyrone Peachy and Sam Stone and Beau Fermor all get starting roles this week to fill out the back row and lock.
So what's Tyrone Peachy playing lock, is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mitch Rain is in starting hooker with Nathan Peets being injured, which brings Aaron Clark onto the interchange with Sam Lasone, Keegan Hipgrave and Jai Whitbread. So Tanner Boyd, who was starting 5'8" last week, has been dropped to the reserves. I thought he looked quite good, especially with Jamal Fogarty. And Anthony Don has been named on the reserves as well. So it's the first time I've seen Anthony Don dropped. Sorry. Anthony Don's a chance for returning. Okay, so he must have been injured last week. Whoa. Titans haven't won in Sydney since round 11 of 2019. It's over.
I'm still going Titans on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I just think that they just, I don't know, I feel like every so often they come out with this like super good team.
I know.
Super good performance. And I think they're due. And
their attitude's been spot on.
Yeah, they always have. So I just think that, and Dragons also have that tendency to just show everyone how bad they are. Like they really do everything, and as a Dragons fan, you can't even deny that. Like it's the team they have, they could be doing so much better, but they just really don't want to play sometimes. So I'm gambling that's going to happen this game.
I'm really looking forward to the centre battle. Aitken and Lomax versus Kelly and Tonamapia. I love the Titans back five. I think it's really exciting back five. Corey Thompson to me is the most boring of their back five players, and anyone that is a midget who can play in the NRL is great to watch. And then Bribson versus Dufty is going to be fantastic as well. So I'm going to go Dragons. I think they just might have more points in them than the Titans, but yeah, I think that's going to be a good game to watch. Probably more so than the second game on Friday night, which has bloodbath written all over it, with the players coming back.
Yeah, so, like, I'm very surprised.
Maybe Seibold did time it perfectly.
No, I'm surprised by this because, and this is actually complete disrespect to the Broncos. Because there's 6 games left this season, 5 or 6 games left, and that's not including finals. Roosters are planning on making a grand final, so there's 8 games left this weekend. 5, so there's 9 games left for them, or 8 if they win the first round of the finals. I don't think he needed to bring everyone back just to fuck up the Broncos. Like, he's been resting them all year, and then he's like, Broncos, bang. Like, Boyd Cordner's got a dodgy everything by the looks of him. He could, I don't know if he needed just one last week. I understand that, but with last week's team, they would put 50 on this Broncos team. Then they're bringing these people back. Oh, okay. So for Roosters, you got Tedesco, Tupou, Morris, Manu, and Morris.
That's their best back five, eh?
You poor bastards. Oh, my God. And then you got Drew Hutchinson and Kyle Flanagan.
At least there's no Kevvie.
Yeah. But the thing is, those two have probably played more games than Dearden and O'Sullivan, the other halves of the Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
And you got Maria Hargraves, Jake Friend, and Takiaho, Cordner, Tupanua, Isaac Leo. So obviously they're missing Crichton and Sonny Bill and Radley there. They're still, Tupanua, Cordner, and Leo. That's a pretty formidable back row. And you got Freddie Lussick. He's got a neck on him. Famasuli, Nat Butcher, and Lindsay Collins with Fafita, Ryan Hall, Max Bailey, Egan Butcher. They're up and they're 21.
Where's Orbison?
He's injured. He done his wrist, and that's something we didn't talk about. He actually announced his retirement.
Yeah,
earlier this week. Super disappointing for everyone in the NRL because he should have played for New South Wales more than he did because he didn't play any games for him. But he should have played for New South Wales at one point in his career. Okay, and then on the opposite side, so Roosters could arguably have one of the fastest fullbacks in the competition. There is no argument that Broncos have the slowest fullback in the competition in Darius Boyd. Then you've got Richie Kenner.
We had Brendan Elliott. Manly had Brendan Elliott for a little bit.
Nah, but he's still faster than him with an ACL injury. Then you got Herbie Farnsworth at 5. Then you got Sean O'Sullivan and Tom Dearden. Look, the only place that Broncos could have had more experience and been more like one, when you face
one facet of the game.
Yeah, it could have been the halves with Flanagan and Hutchinson. That's where they could potentially be weak. Not with these two. Let's put it that way. Flanagan played really well last week, actually. And then you got Offhand Gowie, Corey Pax, Reece Kennedy. Oh, my God. David Fafita, Ben T, and Pat Carrigan. Like, the back row's half decent. That front row, Jesus Christ. Then you got Brody Croft at 14, Jordan Ricky, Ethan Bullimore, and Jamil Hopewade. The big fig on the bench here is Corey Oates is in number 21. So I don't know if he's coming back from injury or what, but he is number 21, so he could be a late inclusion, which I believe starches up their back line, but yeah.
Overall under, Patrick Carrigan makes 60 tackles.
He's going to have to. Someone's going to have to tackle for him.
Actually, it could go both ways. It could go two ways, sorry. Roosters score that much that Broncos hardly tackle. Or Roosters have an off night, Broncos have an off night, but Roosters' off night slightly less bad, so they have a lot of the ball.
No, Roosters have an off night, Broncos have a good night, and Roosters still win.
I'm going to go Broncos in this one. No, I'm not. I'm not. No way.
No, I've already written it down. You're in Scrabble. It's with a pen.
No. I'm actually hoping this is a half-decent match because I'm trying to work out who to drop out of my fantasy side, who's picking up points.
Okay.
3 packs and Tupanua are I'm laughing having them at the moment because
I've talked about this before. Beware. I always said beware of a team that lost its coach midweek. I think this is the exception to the rule. I don't think Broncos will be ready for this game at all. To be honest.
Also, Mitch Orbison needs 2 games between now and the rest of the season to be the most capped Rooster of all time.
Let's hope he gets it. I hope he walks out he leads the team out in the grand final. How good would that be?
And loses.
No. Against Newcastle, maybe. All right, so the next game.
I got this one.
Nah, I got it.
You got the last one.
Yeah, but
it's nice. Yeah, all right, go for it.
All right, so for Warriors versus Newcastle, you got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Adam Pompey, Hayes Perham, Peter Hicker, and George Jennings in their back 5 with Cody Nikorima, who actually played really well last week. I'll give him that. Chanel Harris-Davida, and Jermaine Tanua-Brown, Carl Lawton, Lachlan Burr, with Elisa Katoa, Tohu Harris, Jazz Tavega. So it's Todd Payton's putting a lot of faith in Carl Lawton in this game because they actually bought Wade Egan from Penrith to start at number 9. Wade Egan's coming back in the last couple of weeks and he's come off number 14. You got Adam Blair, Daniel O'Vara, and Jack Murchie with Isaiah Papali, Gerard Beale, Josh Curran, Paul Turner. So Paul Turner was a superstar halfback from last week and still not getting the run second week, even though he played really well. And for Newcastle, you got Ponga, Toa, Tuala, Shibasaki, and Heimel Hunt as their back five, with Mason Lino coming in for Blake Green, with Mitchell Pearce.
That'll be good.
At halfback. And Mason Lino, I think, only got the position because Kalen Ponga's kicking's been off for the last month, and it takes a bit more responsibility off him. So the front row, you got Clemmer, Mann, Jacob Safidi, so they're giving Daniel Safidi one more week. With Lawson Fitzgibbon, Aiden Guerra, and Mitch Barnett in the back row. And then you got Phoenix Crossland, Herman SASA, Josh King, Pasami Solo. Rounding out the 21, you got Brody Jones, Chris Randall, Tex Hoy, Gerard Mimosa. So Tex Hoy, I don't know what's going on, but he still's not getting the run, even with all these injuries. So who are you picking?
This is tough. I think this is earlier this year when Manly and Knights played. We had a look at the Knights' record at Central Coast, and they hadn't won there since freaking ever. And then obviously they beat Manly, but and the Warriors have played pretty well of late.
Yeah. The only thing I can say that is that I know we lost the Bulldogs, and I know people are going to say it back to me, but fuck off. But Bulldogs nearly beat them last week. Even when, as we discussed, Warriors were playing really well. Bulldogs nearly done them in.
And Bulldogs got out to the lead, but these guys fought back as well. Who did you play?
Yeah, so Warriors are the same as the Dragons. You just don't know what's going to happen. Todd Payton seems to be doing pretty well with them, getting them out there for games. So I'm obviously picking Newcastle, but
yeah, who did you verse last week?
We versed the Cowboys, beat them 12-0.
That was a tough game, but
yeah, it was super windy. That was the main story of the match. It was really windy and kicks were going everywhere. I'm never comfortable against the Warriors. I'll walk onto a field against. I'll watch Newcastle walk onto a field and feel comfortable against Tigers, Manly, Parramatta, Penrith. I'm just throwing the teams that I know, but there's teams you walk
as well.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay,
there's teams you feel comfortable walking on the field against all the time. Warriors are never that team for me because you don't know who's going to rock up.
All right, so Sharks versus Cowboys. This is the 5:30 game on the Saturday. The Sharks, Matt Moylan's not there. He's on the reserves, but it's not due to injury. He's actually been dropped. It's been that's probably the biggest call from Morris. It's all based around his defense. They let in 5 tries down his and Wade Graham's side last week.
Even Wade Graham couldn't protect him.
Well, Wade Graham's had the second most missed tackles this season behind only Mitchell Pearce. He's had 55 missed tackles, Graham. He's good when he lines you up, but he's pretty weak on each edge. Sharks are missing an NRL worst 37 tackles a game, up from 28 last year. So it's all based around Moylan's defense. So that's interesting. So Will Kennedy's at fullback, Katoa and Mulatalo on the wings with Dugan and Ram in the centres. Connor Tracy starts at 5'8". Sean Johnson is back after missing last week with an injury. Forward pack has a change in it. Brighton Okora retakes a starting position in the second row with Wade Graham. That pushes Sifa Talakai to the interchange with Scott Sorensen, Jack Williams and Royce Hunt. But a big inclusion, Andrew Fafita has been named on the reserves and is firming to make a return. For the Cowboys, Scott Drinkwater holds his position at fullback despite the inclusion of Valentine Holmes on the wing. Josh Hannay said he'd prefer to ease Holmes in by the wing before the full role at fullback. Murray Talagi comes in at centre with Justin O'Neill. Dejan Arce has been named at 5'8" with Michael Morgan. It's great to see this young fella get another run. He looked quite good in his games earlier in the season. Now, here's a bit of a shake-up. So, Ruben Cotter has been named at hooker in between Molo and McLean, Mitch Dunco and Hess, and Josh Maguire in the back row. So, obviously, no Tamalolo there, but also no Reece Robson. Interchange, Granville, Asiata, Gilbert, and Jensen. With the reserves, Clifford, Wright, Lamelu, back from injury, and Holler. So, Robson injured, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anything there. Wow. Here's a stat. Cowboys have not won at Jubilee Stadium since 2003. Holy crap, that's 18 years. Jesus. They're also not going to win this week. I've got Sharks in this one. I don't know why I'm the Sharks. They generally keep losing, but I don't see Cowboys with the points.
I'm going Sharks just because they're not having Tamalolo there. I think he's a massive influence.
Yep. All right, 7:30 game is Penrith versus Tigers. Looking at Penrith's back line, this is probably their strongest back five, I would say. Edwards at fullback, Mansour and Tu'o on the wings with Brent Naden and Crichton in the centres. Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary in the halves, Tamo and Leota up front. So changes here with Kickout out. They've moved Fisher Harris from prop to lock. Leota's gone from the bench to starting prop. And Isaiah Yeo has changed from lock to second row with Liam Martin, who absolutely terrorised Moylan and Graham last week. Tyrone May jumps to the bench with Spencer Lenu, Billy Burns and Zane Tadavano. Kurt Capewell has been named in the reserves. Now, a big in for the Tigers. Backline is relatively the same. Luke Brooks and Marshall pair up in the halves. Leilua is back in the centres as well. But in the forwards, Harry Grant has been named to make his return from injury, which helps my fantasy team because Coruscant is out. McCulley and Aloi starting props. Luke Garner, Leilua in the second row. Alex Twile at lock, which puts Eisenhuth on the bench, along with Elijah Taylor and Sean Bloor, that young, maybe budding superstar. But Jacob Little has retained his position in the team on the interchange, which you'd assume Harry Grant's not going to play the full 80 in his first week back. And Jacob Little's been playing quite good. Reynolds, McIntyre, I don't see any of their reserves coming in. Whew, few changes for both the teams there. Penrith said last week Kate was on track to return in round 17, so probably won't push for a position this week. Kickout's a loss.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I was surprised Capewell didn't walk in, but
he'll go on the bench anyway, you'd assume.
Yeah, so like I said, they've got. He's going to get 2 weeks off as a rest period. Penrith are in a great position to win and take out the minor premiership, the best attacking threat, and they're going to squeeze someone who's as he hasn't played many games, but people respect Kirk Capewell. He's got a reputation of doing the hard shit. So, and then you got, I don't believe that. I think the biggest winner out of this is they're giving Moses Leota, who definitely deserves a chance to start.
Yeah,
he's going to have Fisher Harris and Tamo around him in the middle anyway, but he's going to get his chance to start, which he really deserves. So, I reckon this is just. I reckon it works out for bloody Penrith better than anything right now. If it'd be a different story if, Penrith were pushing the 8, but they're on top of the ladder with, 4 points clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon it's great for them. I'm going Penrith in this game.
Tigers haven't beaten Penrith at Penrith since 2013.
Yeah,
which I find surprising. Unfortunately, I should have let you do that last one, so I want to do this one because it's a Manly game, and then you can finish up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I know. I couldn't get tickets to this game. I actually did try for some stupid reason. Melbourne are up at Sunshine Coast Stadium against Seagulls, so very close to our home, but they only sold 4,000 tickets to this game, so 2,000 less than what they've been selling, and I missed out. It would have been nice just to see the boys up close. I doubt I would have seen a win anyway. So
that's all right. You're in Nambour. They're playing in Medina. You'll still see Cherry Evans' neck standing over the stadium.
Shut up. What a week for Storm to bring back some of their decent players, eh? So for Melbourne, some big ins. So we got Pappenhausen retains his spot, obviously at fullback. Marion Sevi comes in for Vunivalu on a wing. Brenko Lee and Olam are in the centres with Addo Carr. Cameron Munster is back. Jerome Hughes is back. They both go into the halves. Cameron Smith is back. He goes into hooker. Jesse Bromwich is back. He goes into prop. Oh, God. Tom Eisenhuth in the second row. And Nelson Asafa Solomona. Why not just throw him in at lock? Nico Hines.
At lock?
Yeah, Nico Hines, Tino Fasamu Ali, Sandor Earl, and Darren Schoenig are on the interchange. So
that is a scary forward pack, but it's a very surprising forward pack, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit confused.
It's actually.
Well.
So why
I wouldn't be surprised if Tino starts at lock and Nelson off the Solomon comes off the bench.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if they. Why are they bringing Sandor Earl in the forwards? Like, I'm very surprised by that.
Maybe it's back
Tell
up.
you what,
Nico Hines is back up for either Munster or Hughes because they both come back from injury.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Hines can play everywhere in the background, plus hooker, plus second row. Sandor Earl is only a winger.
True.
You can push him at centre, but I wouldn't trust him.
Yeah,
tell you what the biggest thing about this game is, the battle of the forward packs.
Well, I'd say battle of the back row because Manly's front two, while they're big names, haven't played like that lately. So Manly goes with a new fullback this week after Elliott's on his ACL. Garrick's been playing there. So Tavita Funa gets a crack at fullback this week because we've got a superstar in Jack Kajeski playing in the centres. Again, with Brad Parker. George Tafua, Ruben Garrick on the wings, Cade Cust, Daly Cherry Evans in the halves, Fanua Blake, Tapau, Thompson, Siren, Trebojevic and Levi in the forwards. On the interchange, Lachlan Croker, Corey Waddell, Sean Kevvie, Taniela Paseka. But a big one here in the reserves, Albert Hopewade. Now, and Hamel Olakatu, if those two don't get a run, I'll be actually pretty pissed. I've been a bit disappointed with Desi's selections lately, and I really hope, especially Hopewade gets a run. Like, is there literally anything to lose the last 5 games to see if we're going to re-sign this kid? We bloody better. Jack,
you know what'd be funny?
Jeski's the best centre we have.
You know what's funny? It'd be interesting if Des Hasler read what John Hopewade said about not coming back to Manly. It was like, well, fuck you. I'm going to pull him and bench him for the rest of the year.
God, we miss him.
All right, who are you going?
Holy shit. Storm.
Storm. Okay, you really want to win this, don't you? All right, next game. Do you want to?
Des Hasler's the only current coach with a winning record against Bellamy.
Do you want to touch on what Melbourne are going to do to Manly this week?
Win.
Okay. All right, so next game is Canberra versus Bulldogs. You got Charles Nickel-Klokstad at fullback for Canberra with Jordan Rapana, Jarrod Croker, Curtis Scott. Curtis Scott's back. Nick Kotrick.
He's been back for the last 3 weeks.
Has it? Oh, there you go. Superstar Jack Whiten, George Williams, Joshua Parley. I'm surprised he didn't get a rest from that 60-metre sprinting session he had to do last week. Siliva Havili,
What was that?
Dunamis Louis, John Bateman, Elliot Whitehead, Hudson Young, with Tom Starling, Joseph Tarpany, Ryan Sutton, Matthew Timmercole.
Oh, yeah, he's made it. If you haven't seen it, jump on. I can't even remember which Instagram channel it was, but Jarrod Croker breaking the news to Timoko that he's making his debut. So poorly staged. Croker was trying to hide a camera in the room. And as soon as Timoko walked in, he went, "Oh, what's that doing over there?" Picked it up straight away, and there was this awkward conversation. And then he broke the news.
With Sam Williams, Harley
So
Shields, Kai O'Donnell, and Matt Foley. And then you've got Will Hopewade, Nick Meaney, Marcelo Montoya, Kerrod Holland, and Dallin Watine-Zelezniak in the back five, with Kieran Foran, Lachlan Lewis, Ofahiki Ogden, Jeremy Marshall, Kim Dillon, Napa, Josh Jackson, Raymond Fatalamara, Aiden Tolman at lock. Where's Luke Thompson? Oh, he got benched. He got dropped. Sione Katoa, Renoff Tumaga, Dean Britt, Matt Dorey, with Luke Thompson, Jack Cogger, Remus Smith, Tim Laffey. So you've got 4 starters, regular starters for the Bulldogs between 19 and 22. So Tim Laffey and Luke Thompson.
All those big names that he said he was going to cut, and it was...
Yeah, and that is interesting because last week Tim Laffey came out and said that he's really pushing for a new contract with the Dogs next year, and now he's been dropped. So that is interesting by Steve Georgalis.
For a team trying to score points, putting your only strike back out of the team, I don't really get it. But anyway.
All right, so we're going Canberra by a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so, yeah, I think potentially there's some really big blowouts this round. I'd say the game of the round would be the Parramatta game, maybe? Parramatta with South Sydney would probably be the game of the round. Other than that, there's not that much. We're exactly the same on everything but the Titans Dragons games. That's a bit boring.
Well, I got a full round last week. I want to try and keep that going, so it was a bit boring this week. Gold Coast are on good odds too, $3.40. St George, $1.32. Get out of here. Sydney Roosters and Broncos, $1.03 for the Roosters, $12 for the Broncos. You want to jump on that? Ooh.
No.
I think the Warriors are pretty juicy. $2.90 against the Knights. The Knights are $1.42. Cowboys $3.80. Manly $5.20. Don't like that. Bulldogs $6. Holy shit! So yeah, there is some big outsiders here. Jesus. South $2.80. I might have a look at that one.
Yeah, so there's a few. I do think there's going to be a few blowouts. Even with $6, that is justified. So don't be surprised if there is a few big ones this weekend. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. That was a bit longer than we were planning on for this week.
No time for value bets. We had other stuff. Having a look. I'm just trying to find some real quick value somewhere. Let's have a look. Roosters. I wonder what the line. The line. Plus 25.5. Jesus. You get 10 extra points if you go Broncos plus 25.5 compared to if you go Roosters minus 25.5.
Yeah. All right, guys. Listen to us. Come on Spotify. Share us as much as you can, and we will.
Sorry about that.
On Monday morning.
Yeah, and just another. You would have heard the last couple episodes. We've had some voice messages sent in that we can program in, edit in. To do that, you just go to our website that you find in the write-up and hit the leave a voice message. You do have to sign up to Anchor, which is the program that we go through. Just tick no notifications if you don't want emails, but you can shoot through a question. Otherwise, Twitter or Facebook are the best ways to contact us and the show. All our links are on our website, again, that you can see in the write-up. Other than that, good luck to your teams this week. Getting closer and closer to finals. Good luck and stay safe.
See you.
Bye.